by Norman Foster Ramsey. The only Allied aircraft considered capable of carrying the Fat Man without major modification were the British Avro Lancaster and the American Boeing B-29 Superfortress. 21, 22, 23. At the time, the B-29 represented the epitome of bomber technology with significant advantages in maximum takeoff weight, range, speed, flight ceiling, and survivability. Without the availability of the B-29, dropping the bomb would likely have been impossible. However, this still constrained the bomb to a maximum length of 11 feet, 3.4 m, width of 5 feet, 1.5 m, and weight of 20,000 pounds, 9,100 kilograms. Removing the bomb rails allowed a maximum width of 5.5 feet, 1.7 m. 22. Drop tests began in March 1944 and resulted in modifications to silver plate aircraft due to the weight of the bomb. 24. High-speed photographs revealed that the tail fins folded under the pressure, resulting in an erratic descent. Various combinations of stabilizer boxes and fins were tested on the Fat Man shape to eliminate its persistent wobble until an arrangement. A California parachute was approved, a cubical, open rear tail box outer surface with 8 radial fins inside of it, 4 angled at 45 degrees and 4 perpendicular top line of 4 holding the outer square fin box to the bomb's rear end. 21. In drop tests in early weeks, the Fat Man missed its target by an average of 1,857 feet, 566 m. But this was halved by June as the bombardiers became more proficient with it. 25. The early Y-1222 model Fat Man was assembled with some 1,500 bolts. 26. 27. This was superseded by the 1,291 design in December 1944. This redesign work was substantial, and only the Y-1222 tail design was retained. 27. Later versions included the Y-1560, which had 72 detonators, the Y-1561, which had 32, and Y-1562, which had 132. There were also the Y-1563 and Y-1564, which were practice bombs with no detonators at all. 28. The final wartime Y-1561 design was assembled with just 90 bolts. 26. On 16 July 1945, a Y-1561 model Fat Man, known as the Gadget, was detonated in a test explosion at a remote site in New Mexico, known as the Trinity Test. It gave a yield of about 25 kilotons, 100 TJ. 29. Some minor changes were made to the design as a result of the Trinity Test. 30. Philip Morrison recalled that there were some changes of importance. The fundamental thing was, of course, very much the same. 31. Interior. The bomb was 128.375 inches, 3.2607 m, long and 60.25 inches, 153.0 centimeters, in diameter. It weighed 10,265 pounds, 4,656 kilograms. 32. Fat Man external schematic. 1 of 4 and 219 contact fuses. 2. Archie radar antenna. 3. Plate with batteries, to detonate charge surrounding nuclear components. 4. X unit, a firing set placed near the charge. 5. Hinge fixing the 2 ellipsoidal parts of the bomb. 6. Physics package, see details below. 7. Plate with instruments, radars, barrow switches, and timers. 8. Parachute Collector 9. California Parachute Tail Assembly, 0.20 inch, 5.1 millimeters, aluminum sheet. Fatman External Schematic. 1 of 4 and 219 contact fuses. 2. Archie radar antenna. 3. Plate with batteries, to detonate charge surrounding nuclear components. 4. X unit, a firing set placed near the charge. 5. Hinge fixing the two ellipsoidal parts of the bomb. 6. Physics package, see details below. 7. Plate with instruments, radars, barrow switches, and timers. 8. Parachute Collector 9. California Parachute Tail Assembly, 0.20 inch, 5.1 millimeters, aluminum sheet. Fatman Internal Schematic. Fatman Internal Schematic. Assembly. Fatman's detonation method. Fatman's physics package. Nuclear device about to be encased. Fatman on its transport carriage with liquid asphalt sealant applied over the casing. Seams preserved. Tiny and bomb pit. #2 where Fatman was loaded aboard boxcar plutonium pit. 26 was 3.62 inches, 92 millimeters, in diameter and contained a Lurchin modulated neutron initiator that was 0.8 inches, 20 millimeters, in diameter. The depleted uranium tanker was an 8.75 inch diameter, 222 millimeters, sphere, surrounded by a 0.125 inch thick, 3.2 millimeters, shell of boron impregnated plastic. The plastic shell had a 5-inch diameter, 130 millimeters, cylindrical hole running through it like the hole in a cord apple, in order to allow insertion of the pit as late as possible. The missing tanker cylinder containing the pit cord be slipped in through a hole in the surrounding 18.5-inch diameter, 470 millimeters, aluminum pusher. 33. The pit was warmed to their touch, emitting 2.4 W/kilogram Pu, about 15 W for the 6.19 kilogram, 13.6 pound, core. 34. The explosion symmetrically compressed the plutonium to twice its normal density before the Urchin added free neutrons to initiate a fission chain reaction. 35. An exploding bridge wire detonator simultaneously starts a detonation wave in each of the 32 tapered high explosive columns, positioned around the explosive end material at the face centers of the truncated icosahedron. 36. A geometry popularly known from the pattern of common soccer balls. The detonation wave, arrows, is initially convex in faster explosive. Composition B, 60% RDX, 40% TNT. 36. The way the fronts become concave in the slower explosive. Baratol, 70% barium nitrate, 30% TNT. 36. The 32 waves then merge into a single spherical implosive shock wave which hits the inner charge's faster explosive. Composition B. 33. The medium-density aluminum pusher transfers the imploding shock wave from the low-density explosive to high-density uranium, minimizing undesirable turbulence. 37. The shock wave then compresses the inner components, passing through a boron plastic shell intended to prevent pre-detonation of the bomb by stray neutrons. 37. The shock wave reaches the center of the bomb, where the beryllium-210 Urchin is crushed. 38. Pushing two metals together and thereby releasing a burst of neutrons into the compressed pit of the nickel-plated delta phase alloy of 239 Pu 240 Pu barium, 96% 1% 3% bimolarity. 39. 40. A fission chain reaction then begins. The tendency of fission pit to blow itself apart prematurely is reduced by the inward momentum of the natural uranium tamper, inertial confinement. The tamper also reflects neutrons back into the pit, accelerating the chain reaction. If and when sufficient fast neutrons are reproduced, the tamper itself undergoes fission, accounting for up to 30% of the weapon's yield. 41. The result was the fission of about 1 kilogram, 2.2 pound, of the 6.19 kilograms, 13.6 pound, of plutonium in the pit, i.e. of about 16% of the fissile material present. 42. 43. The detonation released the energy equivalent to detonation of 21 kilotons of TNT or 88 TJ. 44. About 30% of the yield came from fission of uranium tamper. 41. Bombing of Nagasaki. Bomb assembly. Mushroom cloud after Fat Man exploded over Nagasaki on 9 August 1945. The first plutonium core was transported with its polonium-beryllium modulated neutron initiator in the custody of Project Alberta Courier Rainer Schreiber in a magnesium field carrying case designed for the purpose by Philip Morrison. Magnesium was chosen because it does not act as a tamper. 35. It left Kirtland Army Airfield on AC-54 transport aircraft of the 509th Composite Group's 320th Troop Carrier Squadron on the 26th of July and arrived at Northfield on Tinian on the 28th of July. 3 Fat Man high explosive assemblies, designated F-31, F-32, and F-33, were picked up at Kirtland on the 28th of July by 3 B-29s, Luke the Spook and Lagging Dragon from the 509th Composite Group's 393D Bombardment Squadron, and another from the 216th Army Air Forces Base Unit. The corps were transported to Northfield, arriving on 2 August when F-31 was partly disassembled in order to check all its components. F-33 was expended near Tinian during a final rehearsal on the 8th of August. F-32 presumably would have been used for a third attack or its rehearsal. 45. On the 7th of August, the day after the bombing of Hiroshima, Rear Admiral William R. Purnell, Commodore William S. Parsons, Tibet's General Carl Spates and Major General Curtis LeMay met on Guam to discuss what should be done next. 46. Since there was no indication of Japan surrendering. 47. They decided to proceed with their orders and drop another bomb. Parsons said that Project Alberta would have it ready by the 11th of August, but Tibbets pointed to weather reports indicating poor flying conditions on that day due to a storm and asked if the bomb could be made ready by 9 August. Parsons agreed to try to do so. 46. 48. Fat Man F-31 was assembled on Tinian by Project Alberta personnel. 45. And the physics package was fully assembled and wired. It was placed inside its ellipsoidal aerodynamic bombshell and wheeled out, where it was signed by nearly 60 people, including Purnell, Brigadier General Thomas F. Farrell, and Parsons. 49. It was then wheeled to the bomb bay of the B-29 superfortress named Boxcar after the plane's command. Pilot Captain Frederick C. Bock, 50, who flew the Great Artiste with his crew on the mission. Boxcar was flown by Major Charles W. Sweeney and his crew, with Commander Frederick L. Ashworth from Project Alberta as the weaponeer in charge of the bomb. 51. Bombing of Nagasaki. Detonation of the Mark III Fat Man and ensuing mushroom cloud. Boxcar lifted off at 3:47 on the morning of the 9th of August, 1945, with Kokura as the primary target and Nagasaki the secondary target. The weapon was already armed, but with the green electrical safety plugs still engaged. Ashworth changed them to red after 10 minutes so that Sweeney could climb to 17,000 feet. 5,200 m, in order to get above storm clouds. 52. During the pre-flight inspection off Boxcar, the flight engineer notified Sweeney that an inoperative fuel transfer pump made it impossible to use 640 usefulness, 2,400 L, of fuel carried in a reserve tank. This fuel would still have to be carried all the way to Japan and back, consuming still more fuel. Replacing the pump would take hours. Moving the fat man to another aircraft might take just as long and was dangerous as well, as the bomb was live. Colonel Paul Tibbets and Sweeney therefore elected to have Boxcar continue